This is the Heart Now Here Spurs Fans podcast for all you Spurs fans around the world. And listen, there's two of us here. It's myself, Lee Tarriott, Kevin Dennis. We are across all your streaming platforms if you listen to us on demand in your podcast form. We're also live on Instagram. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube this Monday night. We are about 28 hours removed from, I would say the straw that broke the camel's back, and it's hard for me to say that. And that's after a horrible loss in the middle of the week. I think we just got to get straight to it, Kev. I don't even know if it's about analysing the game. We you know, our agenda when we do this, and we normally sort of talk about it a little bit off the air. We break down the latest game. We talk about who played well. We've even made some categories like Dick of the Day, Champagne Moment. I think everything is much more critical at the moment now, and we've had chats, we've had episodes when we talk about Ange in or Ange out, but after yesterday, after Wednesday, and even although we touched upon it with Tamworth, even that game, like, where is your head as a Tottenham fan? Take into consideration, talk about yesterday if you like, but where is your head at on this Monday night?
It is at a point where I get to a point with Spurs sometimes when things ain't going right, where I go through the emotion side of it and anger side of it, and then it becomes quite expected. And then you kind of just sit there and laugh about it, but not laughing about it because I think it's funny. It's just I'm laughing at it because it's something that I'm expecting at the moment, and it becomes quite comical. I mean, I looked at that team that went out against Everton, and I still fancied us. And I've done an Instagram post where I said, I hate the fact that I feel like we could do something here. But that was a kind of me saying, I hate the fact that I think we can, but I know we won't. And that's where we kind of are at the moment. Everyone's expecting us to disappoint, and we are. We know the problems with everything. When you want to throw everything into the pot, there's so much to put into the cauldron, and it's just a cocktail of unhappiness at the moment of supporting Tottenham. And yeah, I mean, we're still in a transfer window, which gives me some sort of hope that something can be sort of resurrected within the players we have now until people get back. But I mean, I think it's been a really slow window for us, considering what we've had to put up with. And yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only Spurs fan where I don't feel very hopeful that we are going to bring in the players that are going to change our fortunes, and we are going to have to wait on players to come back. But I mean, time's ticking at the moment, and I mean, I probably will ask you as well, Lee, because I mean, we've all been very Ange in, and and I think judging by the group chat, you seem to be sort of understanding where some people have been coming from, where we may have been a bit blind to it over the last sort of month or so, or 6 weeks. But you seem kind of, it sort of is what it is at the moment. Am I right? Or
I think after yesterday, I'm struggling, mate. I've got to be honest. I feel like we've got to a point where his tactics seem naive. I think to go to a back three yesterday when you would have had no real training sessions to implement it, because you've got to remember we played Arsenal Wednesday night, so Friday would have been a rest day. You'd have had Friday, Saturday. So let's say 2 training sessions to go to a back three to then go away from home, to just be so open, so naive. And I love Ange and I want it to work. I want it to work more than anything. You know what I mean? I like that he brought a togetherness to the club from the instant moment he came in. And up until around March last year, I'd say the 4-1 against Villa away, we were looking good, and then we obviously had that bad run at the end of the season, and then the stuff that come out about the loss to City and how he felt, and the arguing with the fans. And TJ's touched upon it, you've touched upon it, Matt. He has, did it make our relationship or the wider relationship from the Spurs fans with him a little bit less strong. I just think that yesterday for me was really bad, and I can't keep thinking, oh, it's not because of Van der Ven and Romero and Adogi and all that. I can't keep looking at it and going, it's because of them. We look at teams like Bournemouth went to Newcastle and played them off the park with injuries. I just feel like he just leaves it so open. And I don't think he's got the players that he wants to play that. And changing your defence, changing the system, running them into the ground, getting new injuries. We've got 2 more injuries now in Johnson and Solanke. You've got to look at it, and say, well, I don't know. I don't want us to run and jump and do something silly because I don't know what that would leave us down. We've been down that. Ryan Mason's had the job twice in 3 years. We don't want that. But it's the first time where I'm just like, Ange, come on. The Spurs Arsenal game, we're 1-0 up, rode our luck, got 1-0 up. You just think, right, kill it till half time. Make them feel like they've got to come out in the second half with something to really come at us, and we'll pick them off. And it just open again. Silly choices. Cavalier, and that's individual players' errors. We could talk about Basuma giving the ball away, but it's all just feels like it's really sloppy and really open and not organized. And that has to come from the manager. So for me, 2 Europa League games, and within the middle of that is like probably the easiest game you want at the moment, even though probably fucking Everton was that. But in terms of home against Leicester, who have lost 6 on the bounce, I mean, if he's not getting stuff from that, I do then start to worry about, when you're in that fight at the end, your quality goes out the window, and all of a sudden it's about mood, morale, momentum. And if we're on the low end of that, we could be dragged into a bloody relegation fight. And that's quite scary to say, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, like the thought of a relegation battle. I mean, I'm laughing about it now, and there's a lot of banter going around in the group chats about which championship ground that we'd like to go to next year that we ain't been to. Obviously, Millwall away. So, like, it's funny at the moment, but really, I think it's just our way, especially my lot. It's just our way of fucking dealing with it. And I know all of us deep down, but think and believe that we ain't going to go down, because that would be a massive shock if that did happen. But I mean, I can't believe I'm talking about it, because once everyone's back, I expect us to hit a bit of form. Whoever's in charge of the team at that point, I still expect that. I still expect when everyone's back. But yeah, the worrying thing for me at the moment is there's quite a few of them on the pitch at the moment that just don't look like they want to fucking fight, and that's the alarming thing. And this is your senior players, and it's been there quite a while. Especially in recent games, you stand out performers, the 2 18-year-olds and a player that's been drafted back into the team who was on his way out in the summer and has had problems with every single manager he sort of played under. So, senior players have to sort of stand up and be accounted for, but it's, like every other manager we've had, you can blame the players, but that manager has to motivate them players and get them going and ask them to fight for him. Knows he's like on the verge of basically being sacked. And I think you're right. I think Hoffenheim and Leicester, if maximum points ain't got there, I think he will go. I don't think the chairman wants to do it, but this is our chairman here, and he'll never take any responsibility for what happens. He sort of goes and sacks managers and does it that way. So yeah, Hoffenheim and Leicester are massive games, but even if we got through them ones, I think the next one he loses, they'll just be on his back again. It's hard for me because I feel like he should be judged on, on a team that is his best team, and we're nowhere near putting that out. And if he did go tomorrow, it's sort of you never know what would have happened if he would have had everyone. And I know our fan base haven't got that patience, and I don't think our chairman has that patience when the fans don't have patience. As soon as he starts getting his name called out, Levy, due to on the pitch matters, he normally does the thing and gets rid of someone who he thinks isn't sort of pulling their weight with what he has to offer them as a chairman. He runs the club a certain way. He expects managers to play to his sort of dance to his tune. But every manager we've had can't dance to that tune, and it's the same old thing. We're going to go back to it. I'm sure we'll talk about it, and that's a change at board level. I just watched Ramon Vega and Jamie O'Hara have a bit of debate on Sky Sports today, and Ramon Vega, who sort of speaks to us as well through Instagram, and is a top fellow, and he's got Spurs at heart for someone who wasn't there very long. He knows by supporting Spurs since he left that there's a problem at board level, and there's a reason why we haven't been successful at this football club in the last 20 odd years. And I think everybody knows that the chairman, for how much he might have spent, and if he has spent a few quid in certain times, how many of them players can you say have been a success? I can't name you really any that he spent massive on. So, it's worrying times, really, Lee. At the moment, you just can't see where we're going. And it's been there for a long time, but we've had sort of results here and there that sort of papers over a lot of cracks. But I was watching that Everton game yesterday and 3-0 down, and I was obviously I was pissed off and disappointed, but I was kind of sitting there thinking, maybe this is a good thing this is happening. For the change people want, maybe we do need to flirt with relegation. Maybe we do need to get hammered against poor teams like Everton for something to change. Because if we would have won at Everton, drew at Hoffenheim, won at Leicester, then lost our next 3, there's no consistency there. So, has the worst got to happen for things to change? It might have to. Obviously, we don't want it to, but otherwise, I don't really see a change at board level. I see Ange getting sacked, and then I see Levy. What Levy normally does is he looks down at managers to hire who thinks that Tottenham Hotspur is a massive opportunity for them. And I'm talking about managers maybe like Kieran McKenna of Ipswich, someone who will look at Spurs, won't really look at the Levy side of it, but will just go, that's a big club. I want to have a go at that. And I think they're the kind of managers that we seem to appoint, because obviously the top managers in the game, Conte, Mourinho, Pochettino to a point there when he was at Spurs, he was never backed. And he loves Pochettino and he didn't back him. So the Conte and Mourinho, both of them sort of stood up to him and said that they needed better. They didn't last long after that. And just sort of singing to his tune at the moment. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but he's singing to his tune at the moment. And it's another manager that he might have to sack. But this time he'd be sacking a manager that he actually likes, because he isn't being given the resources to play his style. And that's a disappointing thing. So, I can understand everyone's frustrations, Lee. I really can. And it doesn't hurt anyone more than it hurts me, trust me. And do you know what I mean? I love this football club with all my heart. I'll if I had 30 quid left in my bank account and I had a chance to go buy a ticket to go and watch them, or spend that 30 quid on fucking lunch for the week, I'd eat pot noodles every day just to go and watch them. Do you know what I mean? I'm that obsessed with it. And it's just a shame. It really is. I think we really thought we had something last year with Ange, and with the way the ground was, the excitement around it, the fucking Robbie Williams stuff. It's all just gone to shit. And but something still can be salvaged, Lee. We've got 10 days left of this window. Something can be done, But then I'm reading today that we're getting back Dane Scarlett, and that just sort of says it all of where we are at the minute and where we're going. When you lose a £65 million striker and you get a young kid back who hasn't really hit the ground running in any clubs he's been loaned to, you call him back. So it kind of maybe just shows you the intention of where the board are at the minute. So, a really, really disappointing time at the moment to be supporting Spurs. And I just don't like reading all the shit we're getting from everybody. It's Tottenham Hotspur, a club that I fucking adore and love, and I hate people cunting them. But we make decisions at board level and the manager to a point this year that makes us easy targets for all that. And it really frustrates me because I hate people laughing at us. But what can you do, mate? Here's what it is.
What can you do? And for me, and I'm looking on the chats. Thanks for everyone who's getting involved in the live streams. Matt the Taxi said, Most of us know the problem is Levy. He's a common denominator, but the first time I'm very concerned about Ange. The players look like they've lost confidence in him. I think for me, it's tough because there's no doubt about it. When Ange ball's in effect, it's good. It works. It's exciting. We score goals. Look, we can't forget that we've scored the second most in the league. We just we just are open, and I think what has come from this is the fact of the matter is that we're 20 days into a 31-day transfer window in a terrible run of form that hasn't been seen since 2008, 2009, when Harry Redknapp took over the club when they were bottom of the league, 20th. After 21 games, I think we were in the bottom three, third from bottom, but we were on the right track. They spent money in that window. They got Keane, Defoe back. They got Palacios. But you knew he was on the right track. You could see that things were gonna be working. And on the other way, it's a reverse trend here because it was good and it's sort of gone bad. And I just look at the board, and I know we've talked about it all day, but I think it's not even about Ange. It's not even about me thinking about whether Ange stays, whether he goes, whether it would have worked. I'm very much like you. If he goes, we'll always think, oh, what if he just had everything right? What if all the stars aligned? But it's about the fact that this board will always just go, okay, like it's always going to be all right. They're always going to look at it and go, it's always going to be all right. I think they're a happy board if they get 25 home games a season, 25 to 28 home games, league, cup, and Europe, that make money in the essence of £5 million a game gate receipts. If they then work that against their
Yeah, but these are supposed to be Spurs supporters. Daniel Levy's supposed to support the football club.
well, that's what kills me even more. That's what kills me because I look at it and I go, they say that, but they're businessman first and foremost. They ran Panathinaikos or somewhere in Greece before they were running Spurs, and there's tweets that, or kind of forums and sound bites that have come from around that time and said, don't expect this Enoch to come in and be the answer to your prayers after Alan Sugar, because it ain't going to happen. And I think what they did and there's lots of things I could dissect, but when they had Martin Yole, they kind of got to the sweet spot that they wanted, and then they thought, well, we've got enough, we'll get the manager. They got Juande Ramos, who they thought smashed it with Sevilla, had won the UEFA Cup, Europa League, so they thought that was the deal. Then that they won a cup, but it didn't work out of him. So then they got Harry Redknapp in. It was a step up for Redknapp. He'd never been to a club of Spurs' size. So again, everything was a managed risk. It was never about they got Redknapp in and 5 players that he wanted all at 30 million each, which was it was a lot of money when he was in charge, 15 years ago, 30, 40 million. It's always a managed risk. When we got to the promised land, second in the league, nearly winning the league, Champions League final. You would have said Champions League final and Tottenham to anybody in 2018, 2017, they would have laughed at you. The fact we were there in 2019, and then they bought one player in Ndombele, another player in Lo Celso, and that was it. After 500 days, not spending any money, and it was like, right, you've got to go out now and do that, as if it was all we needed, knowing that our defense was getting older. It just, again, manage risks. When it doesn't work, they get rid of Pochettino because he wants more. He's starting to make murmurs in the press about living in a mansion with no furniture. They get in Mourinho. He can pluck everything. He'll make it work. The minute he starts moaning, he's sacked 5 days before a cup final. They got Conte in, got us top 4, backed him a little bit. But again, he thought he needed more. I think he had enough to do well, but in the end, I don't think it was the right fit because I knew he'd throw his toys out the pram. But again, it's just the managed risk. It was the manager they paid the money for rather than the players and the wages. And I just think now I look at it and I go, I think they are happy. I don't think they would be. They want to be in the big boy tables. They want to be seen at the big boy league. So they want to be at the Champions League. They want to be in conversations about the European Super League. They want to do that because of the merit of the stadium and the merit of the training ground. They can't believe that we deserve to be in the European Super League over other British clubs outside of Man United, Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal. We don't. But they look at it. I think outside of those sort of swinging dicks, if that makes sense. I think they look at it and go, right, if we give us 28 home games where we make 5 million a pop, we'll make the money on the NFL. This is a complex where we're going to make money at concerts. The fans are going to come still. Let's just be astute with who we buy. Let's make sure we get a marketable player like a Sonny, like they have done with a young boy now, hoping that will happen, that we can bank for overseas market to come and support and bring their audience with us. I think they just don't mind being mid.
You know,
If I'm being
when,
honest,
when you talk about it like that, it really makes me. I mean, I always look back at the '90s as sort of miserable time for us as a team. It sort of obviously we had some really poor players, and Man United, Arsenal really like sort of excelling and being probably the best in the country. But in them early late '90s, sort of like from 1991 to probably '99, it felt like a football club. We wasn't fantastic. We didn't spend shitloads of money, but there was a bit of a unity there within the club with the old stadium, with the sort of the fan camaraderie. Something that's been missing for a long time, and I can see why a lot of people who are a bit older than me decide that they don't want to go down there anymore, because it is becoming that stadium of for revenue, not for the players that are playing on the pitch. And
it is, yeah.
And that's what's changed, and that kind of makes me miss the '90s in a way, for because all that was there then. There wasn't the millions, but there was a football team, and there was a fan base who loved fucking going and made it special on nights at home to Chelsea and Arsenal and all that. And at the moment, I mean, especially in the last sort of since Potter's been gone, I think that has been missing, and obviously since we moved into that stadium, that's been missing, and it has sadly now become just a money making machine, that stadium, and the football is an afterthought when the NFL and the concerts and everything else, and the fucking go-kart track and the fucking skywalks and everything else that you want to put to it. He's investing in everything apart from the football team, and the football team is what is the fucking root of the place. And I think it pisses on people like me, and people older than me that have been going all these years and seen the glory years as well. They must be looking at this club, especially for the people that saw us in the '60s, and even to the people that saw us in the '80s. To be fair, must be looking at this now and thinking, I'll quote Birkinshaw. There used to be a football club over there, and that's what it is, and it isn't there anymore. And I know we've got to move in modern times and everything else, but yeah, it just feels empty at the moment with Enoch in charge and the way we're being run, and we've just got no direction in anything we do, and we haven't had direction for a long time. And I thought we had a bit of direction under Poch, and that was one manager that you look back and Levy will have to hang himself over and say he should have been backed, and he never was. And if he was backed, who knows what we could have won in the next couple of years after that. But he wasn't, lost him. And he's about to lose probably the only one that the fans have really took to since he left. And we're about to lose him for a lack of resources as well. So, yeah, it's a really, really sad time to, at the moment, the way we are to support Spurs is quite sort of gut-wrenching.
And that's a problem. I think if you look at it, like we saw it when Conte was going in, Stellini was there, and then Mason was there. Like all of a sudden, the ticket exchange, you can start buying tickets on a match day. People don't really fancy going; they don't want to pay for going. I love the match day experience, and doing this and being around you lads really brought that back. And then Ange added to that. I was like, I can't miss a game. We played 3 Monday night games in a row, and I wanted to be at every one of them. You got work, you got to get up in the morning. I wanted to be there. I wanted to pay the 60, 70 pound, 80 pound in Chelsea's case when we lost with the 9 men. I wanted to be there. Even at that game, I wanted to be there. And I look at it now and I just go like, I just like it. The cycle's gone round again, and I know football works in cycles, but this cycle's, you blink and it's back where you are. And I look at it now and I just go, like, what's it? What are they going to do if he goes? If he goes and no one wants him to go, and the reason he's getting more time, I think, even from a big part of the fans, although there's a lot of Ange out, there was a lot of Ange in, and I don't think any other manager before could have been 15th and kept their job in
I
the
have to ask
recent memories.
these people that want Ange out. I have to ask them. I mean, who do you want in, and how is it going to get better?
Well,
And
that's it.
what are you expecting?
That's it. That's exactly it. And my point with that is that that's why there is such a still a majority of Ange, because I think it's like we're sick and tired. Like, you can't keep pulling the wool on over the eyes, Daniel Levy. Do you know what I mean? Even if you go, say it doesn't work out with Ange, and he goes and gets Kieran McKenna, or he goes and gets a guy from Bournemouth, or he goes and gets somebody who's 38 years old, a whiz kid in bloody Germany. If he goes and gets one of those and they turn things around again, it won't take too long before you work miracles with a group of players, but you need players to go to the next step. And I think with us, it's the hope that kills us, because I think that they set us up. The club sets and every club does it, but a lot of clubs kind of know their position in the game. We've had a position as a glory team up until 1991, and it's been tough since. But the history, the legacy is there. And when it wasn't that good, the good players were still there. From Ginola to Bale to Modric to Defoe and Keane to Berbatov, they were there. So everything still there was a bit of class about Spurs. And now the fact that isn't there, I just feel like, what will they do? And that's the problem. And I think that's the reason that we are hoping that it does work here, because with Mourinho, you almost think it's going to happen. With Conte, you almost think it's going to happen. But now again, you go, we can't keep looking at this, and we can't keep hearing what these chairmen say. And they've spent a lot of money. People go, look, someone threw a stat at me, an Arsenal mate, who went, look, since Arteta's come in, you spent the third most after Chelsea and I think Manchester United. It was Tottenham. And I said, but I said, if you look at what they do, it's calculated risk, like I just said. Richarlison at 60 million, he would never be on a massive wage, and he was the one player that they would have got where paying for transfer fees, although it adds up to money, it's money that's normally used, speculate to accumulate. So we normally spend the TV rights or any money that we get in, right? So when you get someone like Richarlison in, you spend that money, but you're not going to spend loads on his wages, and that's Tottenham. So they get the players that are, might cost a bit on the transfer fee, but it's money that you're willing to spend because it's money that you're earning. It's good money that you're earning because the TV rights are so strong. We're never going to go, all right, well, there's this hot shot from Italy, Osimhen, whatever, that's the name that's on many lips now. They're never going to go, right, we need Osimhen. We're going to get Osimhen, and we're going to pay Osimhen £275,000. They're never going to do that, and they're never going to want to do it, because then they think, well, then we've got to do that for that player there, that player there, that player there.
But you'll compete, Lee, by doing that. I know, but you'll compete by doing it. I mean, I saw a list the other day of our players on their wages, and I looked at one of our highest earners, and then basically my boys, they put the Spurs one in, and they put all the Man City, Man United, Liverpool, all the players that are on their wages. And for what we pay the most for one of our players a week, their backup players are on that. Their fringe players are on that. And their high, obviously their top players are on astronomical wages. Even your 250 to 300 grand a week.
Mad.
But these clubs are successful because, unfortunately, in today's world, people don't play for what competition. They don't come and sign for you for what competition you're in. It's how much you're going to offer them. And if Levy wants to carry on restricting the wage budget, he's never ever going to be successful, ever. And you can try and find the odd Harry Kane here and there, but I mean, they come so few and far between them sort of players where you get lucky and you have one through the academy, or or even if you buy an Archie Gray for what they paid for him, and he's probably on a really shitty wage. At some point, he's going to play so well, which he's doing now, and he's going to want a new contract, and he's going to want such and such because other clubs are after him. And if he doesn't match it, he's going to lose him. And that's where we are with Daniel Levy. Until Spurs compete, especially in the wage department, we are never ever going to be successful, and we're going to fall away even further away from the rest of them at the top. And then you've got your Villas, your Newcastles, your Brightons. Everyone else is going to jump us, and that's where we are at the minute. We're in a transfer window now where we probably could have gone and got that French bloke who went to Juventus, but Juventus wanted to pay his full wage, and I can imagine Spurs didn't, and that's the reason why we can't get players over the line. I mean, people would disagree with me, but I thought Marcus Rashford might have been a good shout just for a loan. But the wages he's on, Spurs will never get it and never get it done because of what it is. And I understand that there's a structure, and he knows once he gives it to one, the rest are going to have to. But if you want to be a successful football team, you've got to do that. You've got to change that sort of restraint that you've got on wages. You've got to maybe just let one have one, and then if they're successful and then they play well, give them a new contract. They fucking deserve it. If certain players are doing well in Europe or doing well in the Premier League and they're available, and you know that they can do it in the Premier League, go and do it, because they'll do it for your club, no doubt. It's I'm sort of pissed off with this ethos that we have of buying young and hoping. And when people say we spend a lot of money, we've sort of spent a lot of money on Archie Gray, Bergvall, Johnson to a point. They're not none of them are really ready made.
No,
go and spend 60-70 million. I'd rather you go and spend an extra 20 million on someone who's proven, and then instead of waiting. Listen, we got lucky with Archie Gray because he's sort of gone. He's hit the ground running straight away. But there's going to be some youngsters that are going to take a few years, and we just don't have a few years. I mean, we don't have fucking 4 months because we could be flirting with a fucking championship the next few weeks. It's like, I mean, Levy is a businessman, yeah, okay, but he's got to look at that as a chairman of a football club. Forget the money side of it. I'm talking about the football team. He's got to look at that and go, I'm a Spurs fan. I say all the right things at these MGM meetings and all that shit. But when you look at the fucking facts, he has let this football club down massively as a chairman on the pitch, massively over the years. And his trophy record says it for himself. And the way he's gone through managers, he's got no direction of where he wants this club to go. He just wants to get lucky and hope something good comes out of it. But like I said before, it could take something really bad to shake everyone up.
Well, that's the problem, and like he did get lucky because he got lucky with Poch, and it all just seemed to work. Walker came into his own, Rose came into their own. He got Vertonghen and Alderweireld on cheap deals. Kane become a legend. Ali was amazing for 5 million. Do you know what I mean? Ericsson was someone that we bought with the Bale money that came good. You know what I mean? It all just worked. It was lightning in a bottle moment. But that's the problem. Like this chairman would tell you.
But that is the only time it has worked, though, Lee. That's the only time.
That is the only time, and that's what I'm saying. But this chairman,
the only time it's worked.
Yeah, and this chairman will say, basically that this club is a major success. He will show you balance sheets, which is no good to us, no good to any fan, unless you put all your money in stocks and shares in Tottenham Hotspur, or you're a shareholder, or you've got investment in it. But he will say, we've got the best stadium in the world, we've got the best training in the world, we've got a team that compete for honours every year, because he'll say, look, we've been fighting for top four, we got to Champions League final, we got to Carabao Cup final in 2021. He will use all that, and he will say that we work well within the FPS and all that. He will give it everything, and he does. And then on the back of that, he will say it's very hard to run a club in London. It's very hard to do this. This is why we've got to look at where we're doing with senior concessions. This is where we've got to watch with what we're doing here. This is what we've got to watch we're doing there. He will say the things, but he doesn't. Look, when he was joining that European Super League, he weren't thinking about joining that European Super League to win the European Super League. He was going into it, like a lot of them were, because they felt they had a monopoly to be the best and to make the money. But he was going into it to go, right, we're going to be at the table, we're going to be at the big boy table, but we're going to go with money, and we're just going to, there was no relegation. It's perfect. You know what I mean? You're turning it into a franchise sport like in America. He is happy with that. I'm looking right now at the Tottenham wages. We bought Richarlison, right, for 60 million. The guy's on 90 grand a week. Dominic Solanke, 90 grand a week. Mickey van der Ven, 50 grand a week, same as Jed Spence. Reguilon is on £53,000 a week, 3 grand more than Mickey van der Ven. Lucas Bergvall, 15 grand. Fraser Forster, 75, which is crazy. The biggest earner is Son, which you'd expect at 190. James Maddison next at 170. Timo Werner on loan. So, of course, we pick up that wage. That wage drops off in June. 165. Christian Romero, 165. Dejan Kulusevski, 110. We have 5 players, just 5, that are in the 100-grand brackets. Now, if you apply that to what it takes for other teams or what other teams pay who are in that top 4 elite group, see how many they've got on 100-grand wages or more. And I'm not saying to throw money at players, but, you know, at the end of the day, like, how are you going to keep Mickey van der Ven at 50 grand? How are you going to keep Mickey van der Ven at 50 grand? Right? It's absolute madness. Even people like Archie Gray, he's on 75 grand, which is a massive lot, right? But like they would have done that, and they've applied him a contract that runs out on June the 30th, 2030. So they don't have to go into negotiations with Archie Gray until 2028, 2029, which is 3.5, nearly 4 years away. By that time, they'll either be in a system where they can offer him the money because we're doing well, or he's such a star they don't want him to leave, or they would have made a fast profit by selling him. And I'm telling you, for this group, if we get into Europa League and we're just sort of punching for that 4th place every now and then, they will be a very happy club. Poch, when he got the job in 2014, his remit was to get to the Champions League by 2018. That was 4 years. Within that time, he got second, third, been in the Champions League twice, and a year later, he was in the final. A remit to get 4 years to get into the Champions League. I don't know what Ange's remit would have been. I can almost tell you now, it wouldn't have been, you need to be in the Champions League, because if it was, he wouldn't be in a job now. But just saying all that now about these salaries, about, you know, again, Dominic Solanke, you know, you buy a striker at 65 million. That's not really that much for a striker out. You're paying him £90,000, right? We wouldn't have been able to pay Osherman that or Tony that. That's why they go for these players. I love Solanke, but they went for him because he was probably earning 40, 50 at most, Bournemouth's highest earner. And they went, right, we'll almost double your wages. And he would have went, yeah, all right then. And Tottenham's a good fit for him, and we're a good fit for Solanke, because we don't want to go and entice the big players. That's why we'll get the next, when Mickey van der Ven goes, we'll get the next Mickey van der Ven. Do you know what I mean? When you lose Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen, you have to go out and you have to go, right, bang, we need to really get these players. And Romero, you could argue, won the World Cup, is that player, and Van der Ven is that player. But really, if we're looking at it, like, again, it's almost like we've got to go backwards a little bit for them to ingrain in the team, to get better, to get us back where we are. It wasn't like, right, okay, we've gone from second, third place Champions League finals with these two. They're getting older. Let's get 2 more in that are there. Skriniar was who what's his name wanted? Mourinho. They got him Joe Rodon. Now where's Joe Rodon? Again, prospect. If you lose 10, 20 million on that, it's not a lot. Again, you're not paying them loads of wages. It's absolute madness.
Such a lack of ambition, Lee. It's so plain to see. And it's been there for so long. But when you're saying it like how it is there, it's like, when are we ever gonna just go on to that next step, that next level? You know, like, especially when you've had years of failure as a board. When do you just sort of go, well, no, do you know what? Now we really need to start competing. The prices that we charge these supporters to come in and watch this and have seasons where we're out of Europe and we don't go anywhere in cup competitions. What can we give them back? You know, for how much revenue that stadium brings in, and how much Joe Lewis, all that's worth, and everything else that goes with it. Why can't you be more ambitious as a chairman of a football club to give back 20 odd years of failure that you've given us, basically? You know,
just to give you a bit of context. Aston Villa, right? I've just said we've got 5 players on £100,000 or more. Aston Villa weren't in the top 4. This Aston Villa team were in the Championship in 2019, right? So in that time, now they're in the Champions League. They've only got there last year. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 players on over £100,000 contracts, right? And they're doing well again. You can't really knock them. They're going to get into the latter stages of the Champions League, so the revenue goes up. They've used it wisely. They're doing well. They're pushing again for fourth place. Ambition. This team were nowhere. They had no money. Again, we were going to buy Grealish off them for pittance, and Levy held out, and we fucked us up. This is again another reason just to show that they
we also found out, that time when we was lucky enough to meet Harry Kane's accountant in a pub, and he was sort of saying that Ollie Watkins was there when they thought Kane was leaving, and Ollie Watkins asked for 80 grand a week, and Levy said, "No, I'll give you 45 grand a week." And now look at where Ollie Watkins is. Now look at the club he's at. Sometimes it's about just taking a risk on a player who you've been told about was certainly tearing it up at Brentford at the time. And yeah, obviously Aston Villa are a club that's got an ambitious chairman and got a decent manager in. And if they believe in the manager, they'll give him the funds to go and do it. And the maddest stat about that, Lee, is the being in the Championship in 2019 to where they are now, because someone's come in, because we were going to take Grealish off them when they were in the financial shit. And then and that was another reason we didn't get Grealish, was because of Levy and his greed of holding back with pound coins. And now you look where that club is and look where we are. And I mean, that, like you said, man, that's a prime example of basically where we've gone backwards, and other teams have took major forward steps. And soon, mate, there'll be more clubs going past us as well. And if something don't change, God knows where we'll be. I mean, what is it going to take for everyone in that club just to change their tune and be more ambitious with the money side of it? They've got such a loyal fan base, and I mean, I'm speaking as Daniel Levy, for me, isn't a Tottenham supporter like me. He doesn't get he doesn't feel what I feel. And for the amount that we as supporters and supporters older than me that put into that football club, the money we have spent, what are we getting back? We are getting absolutely fuck all back. We're just getting a circle all the time of the same shit. Managers in, managers out, money being wasted, money not being spent on top players, buying youth players, buying fucking players that we've got to Google. It's like, when is it going to change? And when are you going to look at Aston Villa, Newcastle, Brighton? I mean, soon it'll be Brentford going past us. When are we going to realise that we're getting sort of stepped over by these other clubs in terms of the ladder? What is going to fucking change it? I don't know, Lee. Is relegation going to change it? I don't know. It's fucking unbelievable.
It's scary, because you look at it and West Ham have more £100,000 players than us. And I know he can argue about the paying the stadium, this, that. But again, we look at gate revenues against our wages, and we've got the biggest goal. He pays himself the most in any chairman. We've got the highest ticket price in Europe. And I know we could go on all day and everyone's listening and they'll be with us. But this is the thing we're at, that we can knock the manager, we can't knock the manager. We want to back the manager, we don't want to back the manager. Wherever you sit in with Ange, because there is naivety there and he can't get away with certain things. Everton was a big eye opener for me, I think, because to go with a back three with no training sessions, one who's been out for a couple of months, and then just expect to go to a team who's buoyant with a new manager or a returning manager who just went, right, just put pressure on them. Just put pressure on them. Press them. They won't want it. Put a bit of press on them. You're going in with a new system. He's got to take some blame for that, Ange. But again, if it ain't Ange, it's someone else. It's the new hotshot, and they'll just say the same to him. Well, you're working to this budget. And if I'm being honest, Daniel Levy's just Mike Ashley in better clothes. Do you know what I mean? Because at least that Mike Ashley sort of let it be known. He went, fuck it, I don't want the FA Cup. I want to stay in the Premier League, and made that so. He kind of let the managers know, second teams in these cups and things like that, which was poor, and that's why they wanted him out. Things have turned around for him. But for me, I don't know. I feel like it's going to have to be another right place, right time for things to get better for Spurs. I think we're always going to be all right. And if the beautiful thing about Spurs, and Kev, your testament to this, the beautiful thing about it is the supporters, it's the moments, it's the places to go, it's the memories, it's the experience of that. It's the feeling of like, well, whatever will be, I think the problem is it's funneling, it's getting too diluted because let's say our good friend Yik Yak and some more that we've got, they was at an era where it weren't 2 or 3 years between cups, whether it was a League Cup, an FA Cup, a UEFA Cup, but they had that, and that's funneled down. We didn't get that in the 90s, but we got, as I said, 2 cups in our sort of school years, but we saw great players, and then as we sort of turned into young adults, the Champions League was on the horizon. So you think, oh, it's back. I just feel like it's going to take right place, right time. You know what I mean? Hopefully decent, hopefully these boys stay together, the Bergvals, the Greys, the Kinkskis, the Spences.
I think, Lee, they've been a fucking shitty dark tunnel we're in at the moment. And, I think our senior players at the moment as well. Listen, I know we're on here slagging the board off, which is fully deserved. But when we want to talk about results at the moment, we're not getting them. And the reason why everyone's talking about us is because the performances ain't been on the pitch, ain't been great. And some of these senior players are really being showed up by these young players at the moment. And I mean, I played for a football team, right, at quite a good standard of a county level, and I'm 40 years old, and I have no right to be playing against players who are fucking 18, 19, and you sort of take me out of that football team, and I'm the captain. If you take me out of that team, I think the oldest player in my football team is probably 19, 20. I mean, they're a young footballing side. They've just come out of youth football. But the only reason I'm in there is because I know the manager well, and he says, look, we come and play for him and just show him how to, sort of basically be a man and play football, because they're all sort of coming out of you. Really good young football players, but just don't really know how to sort of, I wouldn't say, maybe I say play men's football. They don't really have the vocal side of it. They don't really have the dark arts of everything else. And that's why I'm in there. So I'm a captain of that. And I know they're all there looking at me, trying to drag them through games and stuff like that. And when we don't win games, I go in that change room and I'm fucking fuming. I feel so responsible for them because I'm the older senior player and I should be doing better. And I'm supposed to be teaching these boys the ropes. These young players in this Spurs team at the moment have got to be looking at players like Son, Maddison, these sort of senior players to a point, and think, if they can do it, I can do it. And I'm sure if you ask my boys who I play with, they won't put a fucking tackle in until they see me do it. And it kind of just sets the tone of how we play in games. And we did that this weekend when we played, and we won a game against a really good side comfortably because I was on it and we was all on it and we was all on the same hymn sheet. At the moment, that football club or that team, young players are on it, but the senior players are not. And if I'm a young player, I'm looking up to a human son and thinking, well, if he ain't tracking back, why the fuck should I? And that's where we are at the moment. And I think, for how much we love Ange and I don't want him to lose his job, but playing certain players and being scared to drop certain players, especially the captain, is it going to bode well for him? I think in certain moments. I mean, if you saw the reception that Son got after the game, he got some right shit, which I don't think's right because it's not just him, and he isn't picking himself to play. Someone else is picking him. But yeah, we're sort of playing the wrong players, and when Ange puts these players in, they're not setting the right example for the young players. Even though the young players are still trying, but the senior players, I don't feel are going off that pitch embarrassed enough, and taking that responsibility on their shoulders. They should be like me when my team. If we lose a game, I go home and I've got the fucking ump all weekend. I've got the ump because they're my responsibility. And I just don't feel like them sort of players out there at the moment. The good young players don't have any leaders to learn off. And I think that's what's letting the stuff on the pitch down. And I think that's why Ange can't motivate half of them, because half of them can't be fucking bothered. And then players are unfortunately going to cost a manager who's give us some good moments. It's going to cost him his job. And like you said, until the next one comes in.
This is the thing then, mate. I've just got a couple more questions to ask you then. How important is Hoffenheim?
I mean, if we don't get a win, I mean, the Elfsborg game is well, kind of lucky we've got that one really, because I mean Hoffenheim are struggling in the German league, so there should be no reason why we don't go out and beat them. But my thing is at the moment, Lee, is that I think everybody abroad and in the Premier League or in the cups, everyone thinks they can beat us at the moment, and because we're a wounded animal at the moment, we can't really handle that kind of aggression, and teams are going to come at us like that. I'm thinking about Brentford away in a couple of weeks, man. That could be a fucking horror show. They're the sort of teams you don't want to be playing now. And Hoffenheim are fancy their chances, and I'm sure Ruud van Nistelrooy will be telling Leicester on the weekend that, listen, weather the storm, these lot are going to give you chances. And that's where we are at the moment. People think they can beat us every week, and that's for me. That's a team that is sort of struggling with confidence. It's a team that sounds really fucking weak mentally, where other teams think they can just beat us no matter where they play us, at home or away. So yeah, Hoffenheim, I don't think a major issue. I mean, anything but a win there is going to pile more pressure on him. But the Leicester game, I mean, a draw for me, unfortunately, could fucking seal his fate. With the Elfsborg game coming up, I think he might get out of the Hoffenheim one. But the Leicester game, golly, if you don't win that, I think he has to go.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's win or nothing, right? Because if not, there's no point to it. Elfsborg, you've almost got to say, fucking hell, if you didn't win that. But that's why, yeah, Hoffenheim, I think they're all important. They're all important for me, for him to say, look, mate, if we've been with you all the way when that's just who we are and all that. That we like that phrase. We were with you when you played 9 men and went forward and nearly scored against Chelsea, although we got our asses handed in the end. We were with you because you were creating our identity and everyone got it. But the longer you go down that road and you realize, mate, there's naivety here, you've got to do something. You're going to lose people who love you. You know what I mean? Want you to do well. But yeah, for us, it has to be. We couldn't ask for a better home league game than what we've got this coming Saturday. But with that saying, Kev, next time we're here,
that's what worries me, Lee. I mean, the naivety of us. I mean, thinking that we're just going to go and smash them. I just at the moment, I can't see that, being a given at the moment, and that's where we are. I mean, like football's funny because you can win a game or two and things can just change. I mean, I'm not convinced that if we beat Hoffenheim and Leicester, everything's going to be okay and we're going to go on a run. I just don't think we're there until players start creeping back. I mean, I think this is the reason why he hasn't got the sack yet is because of obviously the injuries he's got, and I think the chairman would like to give him a go with a full strength side. And I think most supporters would like to see that as well. And I think if you didn't, I'll be like, well, fuck, like give your head a wobble. Like who is going to come in and do something? There are his players. But yeah, I kind of just want him to have a go with everyone back. And then obviously, if things ain't going great, then by all means, if you can't get a result with your best team, then fuck me, you really should go. But yeah, it will be if he does go, it will be the what ifs. And there's not a manager out there realistically that will want to come to us that I get excited about. I mean, I'm reading Allegri, Southgate. I mean, all these sort of managers. It's just like, what's going to change? Levy's tried to go one way with a manager, then tried to go and get the world's best. Doesn't work. Then he's gone back to a guy who's sort of just been in the Scottish League and the Japanese League. I mean, I don't even think Daniel Levy knows what kind of manager he wants. I mean, I think he likes, don't get me wrong, I think he likes someone who thinks, wow, Mr. Levy, this job is massive. I'm really excited to be here. Are we working on a shoestring budget? Not a problem. We're only going to sign players that are under 22. Not a problem, because they want to be there, because it's a great bit on their CV. It's a dream job for them. That's where we kind of go wrong, and if he gets lucky with a manager like that, he might do. But like you said, Lee, how long is that going to last? But yeah, just as a whole at the moment, it's really tough. But people like me and others that are listening, for how bad it is, we'll still be at Anfield in a couple of weeks for the semi-final. We'll probably be at Villa Park for the FA Cup game, because Daniel Levy preys on supporters like us that no matter how bad it gets, it's in our fucking DNA, and we'll pay whatever it is and travel whatever night it is and deal with work the next day and go skint just to have these moments, because we love the football club. And that's the problem. Us kind of supporters are just not repaid enough at board level, and don't give us anything anything back for our, sort of how much we've given the club. I mean, I'm just talking about 40 years for me, but there's people a lot older than me that have given much more, and they're the supporters I feel sorry for. And if we do hit the glory times, I mean, I think people like us fucking deserve it.
Well, this is the thing. We talk about how bad it is. We're one game from a Wembley Cup final. We're doing all right, in Europe. We should be okay. But that is, it's neither here nor there. So I think the last question, Kev, can you confidently give me a scores? What's the score in Oppenheim and what's the score at home to Leicester?
Hoffenheim. I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs for Hoffenheim. But that's not. I mean, that's not going in my fucking accumulator. Let me put it that way. Spurs are going nowhere near my accumulator. I mean, the Leicester game is fucking massive. Like if we go 1-0 down in that game, that fucking crowd is going to turn toxic, and it's going to be a nightmare. We need a good win over Hoffenheim, but we need a really good win over Leicester. I mean, I know people will say, well, a win over Leicester's fuck all because they're playing shit at the moment and you're papering over the cracks. But we have got to remember kind of where we are at the moment. And Leicester's it's a big game for us. This might have been a game where people would sell their tickets to yawn it. I mean, my back's right up watching Leicester now because it was only yesterday I was watching Ipswich and Man City and sitting there with my missus. And, when you're watching people like Ipswich and Man City, you always want the underdog to win, right? I mean, missus sitting there, she goes, oh, well, Ipswich should do them, don't we? I said, no, we don't, sure. Fucking just behind us in the relegation zone. I mean, that's kind of where we are, and we've got to be realistic of where we're playing at the moment. Leicester are going to fancy it, and we've got to be our best to beat Leicester. I mean, that is where we are in this rut at the moment. If you would have said this fucking at the start of the season or September, October, we might have been like, we'd have laughed about it. But this is where we are now. Every game now is massive in league and cups. It's massive for me as a supporter as well because I want the manager to keep his job and I want things to change and I want us all to look back at this next season and go, fuck me, do you remember that fucking mad one when we thought we was going to go down? But now look where we are. I want that to happen. But them players really need to realise what kind of shit we're in and they're the only ones that can get us out of it now and the manager as well to a point. So yeah, if I had to stick the Leicester thing down, I think we can see, but I'll go for 3-1.
Interesting. I am going for a nervy 2-2 away at Hoffenheim, but we'll get a point, and I think a 2-1 win over Leicester, which I do sadly think we'll go one down, but we'll get it back and we'll hold on. I think it will do us a world of good, but I think the confidence.
We always go 1-0 down. We always go 1-0
down. Yeah, I know, but that's the problem.
Normal.
It's normal, but do you know what, Kev? It's been a tough pod tonight. I didn't want to come on and sort of ask the questions I normally do about the game and players. I think it needed to be bigger than that. I think it's been really good. I think we dissected it. I think everyone who's been listening has been really great for us. We look at someone like Andy on YouTube here who says, for us fans, we want to win an argument. For the board and Levy, as long as they're in the argument, that's good enough for them. That's nowhere near good enough for Tottenham Hotspur. The football club, football in capital letters, TB1182 says, we've just got problems throughout. Romeria, Van der Ven, Udogie in the squad. We need them back. Swashy 1979 says until Levy goes, we're finished. So they've all been listening. We've had you here. Kev, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Let's hope this time next week we are in a better place. Football's a funny thing. One week you can feel like the shit on a shoe. The next week you're feeling like the best thing in the world. And that's all we can hope for. We don't want knee-jerk reactions, but we do need a reaction, and we need a smart reaction from the players, from the manager, and for the next 7 days, the board. We want to know what you're doing. Listen, we'll be back here next week. Keep the faith. If you're going at the weekend, get behind the team. They need it more than ever. And I know it can sometimes.
Just before you go, can you see anything happening in this transfer window?
Nah. If it ain't happened when it's going so wrong at the moment, I can't see it in the last 10 days. Maybe a loan, maybe one-off player, but no, nothing's going to happen. And that's the problem. I think he'll look at it and go, look, we've got this injury list. I'm not going to buy all these players when they're just going to add to a bloated squad. Whether he's right or wrong, it's clearly not working at the moment. But I just think what we have got and as a fan base, if we just stick together, make sure that we get behind this team in such a huge game, it might just kickstart a good feeling. And look, don't forget, we're only 2 weeks away from a cup semi-final. Kev, take care. Have a good week, mate. Everybody who's been listening, tell your friends about Heart Now Here, the Spurs Fans Podcast. That's what it is. We are a group of Spurs fans. It's like sitting with us in the pub. We'll say things one week that may contradict next week, but we're fans at heart. It's all about loyalty. It's all about
One
love.
thing I
And
won't
that's what
fucking predict, and that's Levy's a cunt.
That's it.
That's one thing that won't.
Thank you very much. That's it. Thank you very much for listening to the Heart Now Here Spurs Fans Podcast. We will see you next week when hopefully things are a lot better. Have a good week. Come on, you Spurs.